Hey guys, we're back, and this time we're going to be checking out the Chex Games edition of Galaxy Trucker. This is the new second edition, and it's a copy of the original game. They've just updated a little bit of the artwork. I think the tile size changed a little bit, and I'm not sure if the base game has any, but I know the expansion kind of remixes multiple of the expansions to the original. But we'll get in here and take a look. So right off the top here we have an insert just advertising some other of their games. Next we have our rulebook. Oddly enough, my copy came with two rulebooks. I think it was just a mispacking, but I got two rulebooks. So on your front cover here you have a little description of the game, what it's about, the components overview, and I love how in all of these they've kind of gone through and had, it's just this humorous take. This is a training manual to teach you as a new employee of the company how to best serve the company. And they've got little just humorous things throughout the whole book that reference that. And we have our how-to setup. And they have this quick building your first ship thing. And I think the first couple pages here literally break down how a game goes. So this first step, they teach you the basics of how to put pieces together, how to build your ship. Then they go over all the different components and what they do. Pretty straightforward. I do like the way they've done that. Although I will point out, it's kind of funny on here. A ship with more engines are faster, so you want as many as possible. The guns, you want as many as possible. The batteries, you'll need as many as possible. The shields, you only need two. But then everything else, yeah, holds as many cargo as possible. Everything's as many as possible. It's kind of funny. And then they do a quick little thing to show you mistakes in building. And then it goes to your launch. So you literally will go to there and then you'll play your first training missions through. They teach you how to do the flight. So literally you do this first section, you read these first 2 pages, and then you're going to go build a ship. And then you do this preparing for launch section, and then you're going to go fly a mission. And they teach you how to do that. And then they go through the basics of each of the adventure cards. Some more examples. And then they tell you how to total up points at the end. The last couple pages are additional rules for the longer campaign. You can do just one mission, or you can do up to 3 in a flight. 3 flights in a mission, I guess is what they call it. But they introduce some of the other mechanics of the game, the aliens, and so on. And then there's the achievements, which I think were from one of the original expansions. Actually, they talk about them a little bit there. They're for the transgalactic trek, where you do the 3 flights together. But there are these little achievement titles that you can earn and defend. And that's pretty much it. There's a thing there to go to get the Rough Roads, which is a downloadable PDF that you can print out to add more difficulty to the game. I don't think you need it when you first start, but definitely later on. Like I said, though, I got 2 of those. They have this quick reference guide, which is kind of neat. It literally just goes over the basics of everything. Stick that under there. Then you have your shipboards. So when you're doing the single mission, you'll have these level 1 shipboards, or the first stage of the trek, you'll go from your level 1 board to your level 2 board, so you get a much larger ship, to your level 3 board. You get quite a massive ship there. So those are kind of cool. I like the way they integrated those. The original one, I think, had 3 separate boards. But you have 4 of those, 1 for each player. Then you have this learning board, which doesn't have the timer for setup over here. And it's the same as the other ones. You have your track going around. Not as many. I don't know if everything's listed on here because I don't think everything shows up in this. Because like there's no need for side cannon mission or side cannons on the training mission. So things are a little bit different on here, but not too much different. You don't have aliens and so on. On the flip side, you go to your level 1. So when you do your normal missions, this is what you're going to use for stage 1. Then they have a second board for the stage 2. Down here it tells you how to set up your decks. And then the stage 3. And you have the multiple things for the timers on here. It's also much more difficult decks. And that's worth pointing out. On the first mission, there are no listings for that because there's literally a specific set of cards you use with the learning mission. For future missions, you have these deck spots here. These are things that you can look at during shipbuilding, and there's always a set of cards up here that you can't see. And that goes the same for the second and third. But on the training mission, it doesn't have those slots for the cards because you're not going to be using those. They have their own special set of cards for that. The game came with plenty of bags to store your stuff in, which is cool. You got all the ship tiles here. And because, I'll show my box here, I use these for some of the components. I actually separated these out. They give you a bigger bag to stick all the coins in one big bag. I'm 3D printing an insert for mine, so mine are all separated out because I'm going to put them in different slots in the insert. But slide this stuff up here. You have your 1s, 2s, 5s, 10s, and 50s. We have those title tiles for the titles that you're going to be defending and earning on your transgalactic trek if you decide to do that mode. We have our minute glass. I think this is a minute glass. It's plastic, not glass, which is nice, and it has a little reinforces in here so it doesn't snap on you. Then we have our various components, and like I said, I put them in these little containers. These things are great. You can get them at the dollar store in like 10 in a pack. But we have our little astronauts here. And I love that these come in the base version of the game, so there's no need to buy, you know, a deluxe version or whatever for this stuff. Your energy tokens. We got our aliens. We got our starting components here, so you got your original crew compartments, the colored rockets that you're going to be using, and your dice in there. This is just how I separated it out. Like I said, it comes with plenty of bags that these can all go in their own little bags. And I think they'd come that way when you get it too. So, our various cargo cubes. And then finally our cards. And then the cards are all in the wrong size sleeves because we wanted to get playing and I didn't have the correct size sleeves for them. So got those on order now, but they're broken down into the different levels. So you have level 3, level 2, and level 1. And then the level 1 cards are actually broken down even further into the original learning cards here. So they have the little L in the bottom corner. Sorry for the glare on there. And these are just more simplified versions of what you're going to find in those other decks. I think there's one of each in here. And these represent the various hazards that you're going to come across along the way on your journey. And you're going to have to deal with. So the ship components, we kind of skipped over here. Come in a bunch of different varieties. But you're basically going to have these out on front of you in a big pile. All of them are going to be face down. And during the building phase, you're going to be grabbing a piece from the pile. You bring it back over your player board, you flip it over, and then you decide if you want to equip it onto your ship or not. Now all your ships are going to look like this in the base mission. You're going to have your center thing right here over the number. And you decide if you want to put it on your ship or not by linking it up. You have to make sure the connectors are right. I'll get to that in a minute. And then you do it again, and you're going to grab another piece. Throughout it, you're going to get some pieces you don't want or can't place yet. You put them back into the pile in the middle, face up. So eventually, like this, you're going to have a bunch that are face up, a bunch that are face down, because other players are going to be doing that too. And you're all going to be racing to grab the parts you need, figure out where you want them on your ship, put them on your ship. You can also save, say there's one that you know you're going to want eventually, like I know I'm going to want an engine eventually. I don't have a spot to put it right now. You can put them up here. But if you don't use those parts at the end when time's up and they're still there, you're going to lose points for these. It's also where parts go that get blown off your ship. The pieces have multiple connectors on there. Let's see if I can find a couple of each here. So you have these connectors here, which are single. And a single can only connect to another single, so like that. So if you were to put a piece like this, that would be incorrect. You would have to take off one of these pieces off of your ship and everything connected to that if it falls off. So keep that in mind when you're building. There's also the dual connectors, which have two pins like this, and the dual connectors have to connect to another dual. That's obviously an odd placement, but you get the idea there. And then there are these universal connectors, which have 3 pins. They're basically the single and the dual, and they can connect to anything. Your original piece that you start with has 4 of those on there, so you can build anything. So there are a bunch of different types of components you're going to get when building your ship. You're always going to start with your crew cabin, and that's where these cabins are where your human astronauts will go. So you get 2 astronauts per cabin. Then you have a variety of different parts here that we can add on. First one here is our cargo pods. So these can carry 2 of any kind of cargo except the red. The red are considered hazardous cargo and can only be carried in a hazardous cargo pod, which is one of these. They have like the armor plating on them. They're red tinted instead of blue. These can actually carry any, but they're the only ones that can carry the red. So keep that in mind when you're building. Next up, we have our crew cabins. These work just like your base crew cabin there. They get 2 astronauts in them. However, if you have a crew cabin that is also connected to one of these are alien life support systems. There's 2 different kinds for the 2 different colors of aliens. And if these are connected to a life pod unit here, or whatever they call these, you can choose to place an alien of the matching color in there instead of the astronauts. You are limited to 1 of each of these on your ship. Well, technically you can have more than those. You're only limited to 1 of each alien on your ship. So if you want to take extras of those, I guess you could. Next up we have engines. And you have a single engine and a double engine. These must be pointed towards the back of your ship. So the back part will be the part of your ship that's facing you. There can't be anything placed directly behind them, so you got to keep that in mind while you're building. And these are what provide your propulsion. The single engines provide you with 1 engine, the duals obviously with 2, but these require power, which we'll get to in a minute. Guns work kind of the same way. You have your single and your double guns. There cannot be anything in the space directly in front of a gun. So if you put it, you got to make sure it's on your ship, generally somewhere on the outer edges where nothing's going to be in front of it. If it is on the inner side, though, you cannot put anything in front of it. Generally, you want these pointed forward because they offer the most firepower there. However, in later missions, things will come from the sides. You can rotate them sideways or even backwards. They get half as much power, so a normal gun would count as 1. A sideways or backward one would count as half. Dual ones count as 2 forward. Sideways, they would count as 1. If you pay the energy for them. Again, you got to pay to power those. And next we have our shields. And the shields here you can see protect 2 sides. And they can be rotated to change what sides are covered. Ideally, you're going to want 2 of these on your ship so that they cover, they don't have to be together anywhere on your ship, but you want them rotated so that they cover left and back, front and right. So you get the whole ship covered. These also require power to function. And we have our batteries, and these come, I don't know where there's a 2 in here, but they come in sets of 2 or 3. There's a 2. So you got 2 or 3. These do not have to be directly connected to any of those units, but you need them on your ship somewhere, and you'll get the little battery tokens on here, which you have to spend to power your engine, your double engines, your double lasers, your shields, and so on. So if you have any of those double things on there, or the shields, you're going to want batteries to power them, so keep that in mind when you're building. And then the last piece are these connector pieces, and these literally don't do anything, but they do give you some structural support on your ship. They have so many connectors on every side, so depending on where you're putting them, this one's a 4, this one only has 3, but so you got to keep in mind there isn't one on that side. But these basically are used just to fill in gaps, to give you multiple connectors. Because like if you were to put, oh, say, what do we got here? Got to find something limited. There you go. If you were to put these cannons off of this cockpit here, you have no more connectors on all this, so that kind of dead ends that section right there. But if you were to put this on here instead, suddenly you still have a connector here and here to work with. So they're very useful. They just don't actually do anything other than supplying you extra parts for your ship. So after you've built your ship by picking up the pieces, putting them on your board, choosing if you want them or not, going through, whenever it's done building your ship, then you're going to go through and double check to make sure all of the connectors are correct on someone's ship and that they haven't connected any of the 1s to the 2s, or you can't have a engine pointing forward. You can't have a connector touching a flat side of a piece like that. All that stuff will get removed from your ship, and they all go up in that top corner for your lost pieces. So keeping that in mind while you're building. The other thing I kind of skipped over is that as you're building your ship, once you pick a piece and you bring it back to here, and you decide if you want to connect it or not, and you go to the next one, as soon as you pick up that next piece, this piece is stuck. They weld it on and it can't be moved. Until you pick up your next piece, though, you can change your mind and say, you know what, I'd rather have that over here, or you know what, I'd rather not do that at all, and you grab something else. All right, I'll put this here. But once you've gone and grabbed that next piece, you can no longer move the previous piece on your board, so keep that in mind. And then once you have your ship built, there's going to be a series of these cards to flip through. Each one of them is going to do various things. In this case here, you found an abandoned ship. If you have 3 extra crewmen on board that you want to give up, you'll get 4 gold. Cost you a day on the time track. There's a little like race track on these arrows here. You're trying to be in the lead. Whoever's in the lead gets the options first on these things. So if the first player declines this, we go to the second player, and they'd get the option to sacrifice 3 crew for that 4 money. There's different variations. This one costs you to lose time for every exposed joint on your ship. So all of these connectors on your ship, when they're on the outside that are smooth, that's a shield, but those sides are smooth, those are fine. You get your engine here. This is smooth on the outside, it'd be fine. If you have this engine per se, it has a connector exposed on this outside edge. If something were to hit that edge, it would take damage and so on. We'll get to that later. But for every exposed connector like that you would lose a day for this one. These are planets that you can land on. So starting with the first player, you get choice of which planet you want to land on. You put your rocket on one of these, and you get those cubes that you can add to your cargo hold. If you still have them at the end of the mission, they're worth money, which is determined by this little chart here that's on the playboard. And we have smugglers. These guys are going to come in and start shooting at you. If you can match their guns, they'll leave you alone. They'll go on to the next person. If you can beat their guns, you will be able to loot this cargo if you want, but it costs you a day. If you can't beat their guns, they're going to board your ship. They're going to steal 2 of your best cargo on board. Then they go on to the next person, and they do that until somebody chases them off, basically. Abandoned station. This one's similar to the abandoned ship. However, you don't lose the crew. They're basically just going over to loot the place. So you need at least 5 crew on this, but you don't lose any. And you'll get the cargo here. This is for the first player, and if they choose not to, it goes to the next player and so on. Open space is going to count your engines, and whoever has the, or you're going to move forward based on the number of engines you have. If you do not have any engines at this point, you'll get knocked out, which we'll get to in a minute. Then we have a combat zone, and this one is everybody who meets these requirements down the list is going to suffer the penalties listed. So in this case, whoever has the fewest crew is going to lose 3 days. So they're going to go backward 3 on the speed chart there. Whoever has the fewest engines is going to lose 2 crew because they got shot up in the combat zone. And whoever has the fewest guns is actually going to get shot at from behind. So that one can be nasty. And we have a meteor swarm, and this shows you the large meteor from the front and a small one from each side. And those are going to be done by dice. So are the combat things. You're going to roll your 2 dice. And I didn't get them on camera. But you roll your 2 dice. In that case, we got a 3. On our boards here, you have columns and rows. And they're all listed with numbers on the top. So in this case, a 3 would have actually gone down over here and completely missed the ship. We're good. But if it was a 5 through a 9, depending on the direction you're coming, those asteroids are coming from the front at first. So it's going to come from those columns, and then you have to see if you have cannons to defend or shields, depending on whatever you're getting thrown at you. And pieces that get damaged of your ship will blow off your ship. Anything connected to those that isn't connected somewhere else will also get blown off your ship. So I should have actually built a ship to use for an example here. But just quick. Of course, I got to find the pieces to actually do this. This is a terrible build of a ship, but you'll get the idea here. Just to put some pieces on here. So if we got a 8, this would come in, it would blow this section off the ship. Oh, you don't throw it away, you put it up here. At the end, those are worth negative points. If we had another 8 and it blows this piece up, none of these are connected to the ship anymore. All of these are going to get blown off as well. And they all go in this pile over here, and they're all worth negative at the end. You also lose any cargo that's in those pods that are on there too. So it can be really bad when you're getting shot in the compartments like that. If for some reason throughout the course of the mission you lose all of your human astronauts, you are removed and you have to go back to the station, and you basically miss out on the rest of the mission. You will not score. There's points scored for the position you're in come the finish. So you will not score any of those, and I believe all your stuff is half. I don't know if that's a special rule or not, but pretty sure all your stuff sells for half if you don't complete the mission. If at any point your ship is destroyed, you're also going to be removed. And if like the space mission comes, or the deep space comes out. So let's see, what are the different ways here we can go? Smugglers don't do anything to you. Yeah, deep space. So if you have no engines and you're in deep space, you're eliminated because you can't keep up. If something causes you to lose all of your human crew, you are lost. And if you take enough damage to your ship, it's possible to basically be destroyed between cannon fire and meteors. And that's pretty much it. I know I kind of did it out of order, and I'm sorry for that. There's plenty of how to plays and things out there for this. I just wanted to get it out there and show you. I like it a lot. The only complaint I have is, now the training mission doesn't have it, but on the future missions, so we'll use this level 1 board for example here. During the building phase. So you're going to have your 3 decks of cards here of things that you're going to encounter. So these get divided up, and they'll be down here. There's also one up here that you'll never know what's in it. So you never can plan for everything, but you can look at these and plan for what's coming up to know what to put on your ship. And the building phase is done in real time. So everybody's taking these tokens, flipping them, looking at them, putting them on their ship, and so on. At any point, one of the players can set this timer. And I guess it goes there. I'm not sure where it goes. But at any point, somebody can set the timer. Once the timer's running, you have until that timer runs out to finish building. Once that happens, everybody has to stop building. So if you get a player who's better at the game than the other players, who knows, to pay attention to the connectors and can do the stuff faster, they're always going to end first. They're always going to start the timer. And that limits how much time everybody else can have. And then based on the level, when you get to these the level 2 here, it's upside down. But now you have 2 timers, so this will go, and when it's done, once it's empty, another player can flip it over again, and when that timer's done, that ends. And I think the third one has three timers you can do. So the timed aspect of it is not hugely popular with our group here. Like I said, once somebody gets good at the game, they always excel, and they're always going to be on top on that, and that kind of hurts. So we kind of very lenient with that aspect of the game, but that's just us. Some people are pretty cutthroat with it. It all depends on who you're playing with, but it's worth keeping that part in mind. But overall, I love the game. I love the way it works. There's nothing like building, especially when you do like the level 3 missions there, and you got this huge ship, just watching it get torn to pieces, and wondering if you're even going to survive to make it to the finish line. There's a lot of little components here. Everything works together well. It does take a little bit of time to pay attention to the 3 different connector types and what you're putting where, and the fact that depending on how you lay a tile on your ship, you might block off a certain part of your ship and not be able to use it later on. That becomes even more important with the larger ships. Overall, though, it's a really fun game. Thanks to being able to play just a single mission at a time, it can be played super quick, or you can turn it into a long campaign by playing all 3 back to back. All are interesting, and I don't think there's any wrong way to play as far as that goes. It's a lot of fun to build your ship and just watch it fail miserably, and that's kind of a perk of the thing. And if you make some profit in the end, all the more power to you. The neat thing about it is it's not really a head-to-head, because you're all out for yourself. You're not interacting with the other players, and that might be something to keep in mind. You're building your ship up, you're doing the missions. The only interaction you really have in the other players is, say, an open space comes out and you have extra engines. Do I want to be in front of that guy? Because if you're in the front, you may get the perk to search the abandoned station or the abandoned ships, or choice of planet, if you find planets with cargo goods on them to pick up. But also you were the one in the front if pirates show up or something bad happens. So you need to keep that in mind too. So you wonder when you're building your ship, do I take a bunch of guns? Do I take a bunch of engines to make sure I have enough batteries to power everything? Do I use those batteries on my engines? Do I use those on the weapons? Do I save them for shields in case I need them? So that's the interaction you have, is deciding if I land on this planet, it's going to cost me 2 days. I'm going to drop back 2 spaces. He's going to be in front of me. And overall, though, it's just you versus the game. You're all trying to be the survivor at the end. And then whoever has the most profit is the biggest winner. But everybody who survives the trip is a winner, at least in the eyes of the company. You got there, you deliver your cargo. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for our look at Galaxy Trucker, the 2nd edition. This is the Czech Games edition. And I like it overall, and I can't wait to get more opportunities to play it. I haven't played the full Galactic Trek very much. I think I've only done it once now in the physical game. I've done it a couple times on a online version, but definitely looking forward to getting this to the table more and getting more in it. And I'm already working on a 3D insert for it to hold everything, including the expansion. So you'll see a video on that soon enough. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.